As we told you earlier in the show, 3 Toronto police officers were found not guilty today of sexually assaulting a female colleague during a night of partying and drinking 2.5 years ago. While handing down today's verdict, the judge said there were credibility and reliability issues with the complainant's testimony. I'm going to bring my colleague Faiza into this conversation, and we've done many stories over the years at City News about how difficult it is to prove beyond reasonable doubt a sexual assault case, and it leaves many wondering if there are other options that would be better.
That's right, that has been the case, and I did speak with a defense lawyer today. He says he wasn't surprised by the verdict, and he says there's already conversation happening about courts being created to specifically deal with sex assault cases.
The judge's reasoning is consistent with every sex assault reasoning. It's based on facts, it's based on testimony, it's based on reliability and credibility of the complainant. None of us are the judge, and we don't know what's going through the judge's head, but I can imagine there's a lot of challenges. Not only public perception, not only the evidence, not only what the complainant said and the accused said, but all these things need to be weighed by an individual to make sure they come to the correct, most importantly, legal outcome.
Is there anything that stood out to you that you think that maybe there needs to be some changes in the justice system?
I mean, some suggestions have been to create a specialized court for sex assault prosecution. Okay, we have one for sex offenses against kids here in Toronto. That has been one suggestion, and that's one thing that can be considered.
And why would that help in this situation? What problems would it address? It
would perhaps help with victims through the process, helping them, get help, get counseling throughout the process, and ensure that I guess you could say the process is done in the interest of everyone, equally.
Faiza, this could have had a very different ending if this trial had played out in a civil court instead.
That's right, because not all sexual assault survivors opt for a criminal trial, and one lawyer says you could also go the civic route where the burden of proof isn't as high as it is in a criminal case.
In a civil proceeding, a sexual assault survivor retains far more power and control over the process. They have their own lawyer, they are involved in the process every step of the way, and one of the benefits of a civil proceeding, aside from the fact that you have your own lawyer advocating for your own interests as opposed to the Crown Attorney who's advocating for the interests of the state, in the civil proceeding the standard of proof is lower. It's a balance of probability, so there isn't as much difficulty in proving that the alleged act actually happened in a civil proceeding. There are certainly other options for survivors. They can submit an application and have a hearing before the Criminal Injuries Compensation Board, which is based on the criminal code. So if you've been the survivor of a criminal act, such as sexual assault, you can submit an application to the Criminal Injuries Compensation Board, and no conviction is necessary, and sometimes people seek justice in that way.
Now, Faiza, in a criminal trial, you end up with guilty or not guilty. It's cut and dry either way. But it's different in a civil court as well.
Yeah, so Flora Weinberg, the lawyer that was just speaking, says in a civil suit, it may come in the form of a judgment for the victim or the plaintiff, as they're called, or it can come into a negotiated settlement. But either way, she says, at the end of the day, it really comes down to what kind of trial the victim wants, whether it be civic or whether it be criminal. And I know you've been sitting in on this trial now. You spent days here. What really stood out to you, would you say?
Well, it was very difficult listening to the testimony. When the complainant was on the stand, the testimony was very graphic. And it was challenging to tell that story and know where the line was on how graphic you get with viewers without overly sanitizing the situation as well. And then you hear the entirely different perspective from the officer, the one lone officer who took the stand in his defense. And then you sort of assess and analyze. So it's really fascinating to watch it unfold as the case progresses. I think what stands out the most for me is that nobody wins in this trial. Nobody has walked away unscathed. Everyone has come out very damaged by the whole thing, and it's going to be hard for everybody to pick up the pieces after the fact.
Perfect. Thanks, Sin.